This week, we had a lawmaker from New Hampshire under trial for receiving child's photos of them naked in private bathrooms. But this doesn't surprise me, and I'll tell you why coming right up.
Facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
If we go back in time to the 1900s, let's just say, we would find that people thought that we would be living in a sci-fi future, especially in the year 2023. People thought back then that we would have flying cars and tech that would help us with our daily life, so we wouldn't even have to lift a finger. But that is only halfway true. Well, we do have tech that helps us with our daily life, just like the device you are watching on right now. But they would not think that we would be confused by the most fundamental statement in civilization. Instead, we could be making sure that big companies keep innovating, making sure that our government holds companies accountable for anti-competition practices, for example. This in turn would further civilization. But sadly, instead of jumping to the future and spending our days trying to invent and innovate, people would rather turn to trying to deny reality, thus just wasting a bunch of time for the rest of us. Because now we need to argue about the most obvious things in life. We could be using that time to innovate, but here I will repeat myself. Confused people say that men can be women and vice versa, which makes no sense at all. But since people think that men can be women and women can be men, what is the definition of a man? Or what is the definition of a woman? If you can't define something, then that something doesn't have any meaning. So it wouldn't even matter if you can turn into that said thing, because that doesn't even have a definition according to you. And also according to your definition, the word which is non-existent in the very first place. If in this reality you can truly become the opposite sex other than what you are and what you were born as, then we still need to define the term, wouldn't we? This very situation plagued the United States lawmaker in New Hampshire, where he thought that he was a woman. But before he was a senator, you could tell that he had a lot of mental issues plaguing him. This is a full timeline of a guy named Stacey Mary Lawden. Well, take one look at him, and you can see that there was no attempt to even resemble a woman, even though he would never even become one anyways. But I digress. His troubles started in the year 2018, where he committed a credit card felony. He wanted to cover this up so people voting for him wouldn't see this. And what better way to do this than to change your name and to cover up the name change with a fake transgenderism bait switch. I am proven that my hypothesis was corrected because in 2012 he ran for senator and won in New Hampshire. But this isn't even as bad as his girlfriend Lindsay, which worked at a daycare, which would routinely take children ages 2 to 3 in a private bathroom and take pictures of their genitals and send it to her boyfriend, Stacy. In quote, he responded with, "You would let me F the little girls that you work with," letting the first transgender legislator in New Hampshire history asked Groves, the girlfriend. "And you're not going to screenshot this and possibly use it against me at all? And we're both on the same page and we both want to do this? And you would let me put my private area inside of those little girls? I mean, what if my private area is too big? But it's not that big. I think you could fit it in there, and if it doesn't fit all the way, then I could just stop. I don't want to hurt them." As if he actually cared about how they felt. This is disgusting. In which case, she should have responded with, "You're creepy, you're weird, and you should be put to jail," but instead she said, "Now, I'm not a genius, but come on now. If you're going to commit a crime, don't text it and don't write it down." But this wasn't even the end of the conversation, in which he says, "Would you let the little girls suck my private area?" And she says, "It's their choice." What do you mean it's their choice? No, it's not. Little girls and guys cannot consent, you apparent pervert. If this doesn't anger you, I don't know what will. Moving to the point in me telling you this from the very beginning, if this was the very first transgender in the Senate, and there was prevalent mental illness, what makes you think that other transgenders would be any different? He will not be the first of the kind when it comes to this mental illness, and he will not be the last. However, that excuse can only go so far because he has mental issues when it comes to transgenderism, not the child sex stuff. He admits this too. This is him in his own words here. "I have a mental illness my whole life, and I guess this was the worst break with it." Wow, poor thing. His mental episode got so bad that he wanted to have sex with children. Have them look his hoo-ha. But you may say that this is just a coincidence, but it isn't. This type of baggage comes with every person that is mentally confused, not just with himself, but with the world that he lives in. Thus, why we should offer help to those people and get them over their mental issues, i.e. gender dysphoria. But we have to do it the right way, because if we do it the wrong way, they will end up in a worse situation than what they first started with. With that being said, we're going to be digging into the headlines of the week. Moving on to the first article, we actually have a Daily Wire article. We have Mike Pence vows to reinstate transgender ban in United States military. Now, I don't blame him, and this is exactly why. Transgenders in the military do not go hand in hand. It's just that when we have transgenders that are not ready for combat and need to take their testosterone or estrogen right before a war, they're not ready. What if they're held hostage and the hostage taker calls them by the wrong pronouns? So we're just going to have all of the United States trade secrets just out in the open just because they won't take their estrogen or their testosterone during the hostage situation. So, I mean, they're just not ready for combat. So yes, I agree. If you have a mental illness, you should not go in the military. Vice President Mike Pence vowed on Friday to reinstate former President Donald Trump's ban on transgender individuals serving in the United States military. Quote, "We can embrace our role as leader of the free world to confront Russian aggression and Chinese provocations with a new military fitted to the challenges in the 21st century," Pence told the audience at the Iowa Republican Party's Lincoln Diner in Des Moines. Quote, "And we can end the political correctness at the Pentagon, including reinstating a ban on transgender personnel in the United States military," Pence said. Trump announced the ban on Twitter back in 2017 after, quote, "After consultation with my generals and military experts, please be advised that the United States government will not accept or allow transgender individuals to serve in any capacity in the United States military. Our military must be focused on decisive and overwhelming victory and cannot be burdened by the tremendous medical costs and disruption that transgender in the military would entail. Thank you. Transgender individuals to serve in any capacity." Okay, so this is exactly it. Trump stated on the campaign trail this year that he will reinstate the ban if he becomes president again. So, of course, Mike Pence is just following in Trump's direction because he was obviously Trump's VP. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis also pledged on the campaign trail earlier this month that he too would ban transgender individuals from serving in the United States. However, not all Republicans support banning transgender individuals from serving in the military. Vivek Goswami, who is running for president, who was asked in an interview last month if he wouldn't reinstate a transgender bill in ban on transgender individuals serving in the United States in the United States military. Goswami signaled twice in the interview that he supports allowing transgender individuals to serve in the United States military and would not ban them. So I disagree with him profusely on this because of the fact that all of the burdens and all of the baggage that comes with transgender individuals' mental illnesses, and the fact that the military itself is going to have to pay for their surgeries then on. It's just a big waste of money. So I agree with Trump and DeSantis. I don't agree with Vivek Goswami. But the good thing is that with Vivek Goswami, he's telling you exactly what he wants. He's telling you exactly what he means, and there's nothing in between. He's not going to go and do something behind our backs because he's being an honest person, telling us exactly what he wants to do and achieve. Moving into the next article, we actually have another Daily Wire article. We have DeSantis fires back after some Republicans promote Kamala Harris lies about Florida curriculum. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis fired back late this week at those who are promoting what he slammed as, quote, lies about the Florida's African American history curriculum in an apparent attempt to damage him politically as he campaigns for president. The claims began circulating last weekend when Vice President Kamala Harris took a trip to Jacksonville, Florida, to attack a new curriculum, claiming that, quote, in the state of Florida, they decided middle school students will be taught that enslaved people benefited from slavery. Now, they actually took this out of context. Obviously, Democrats are doing this because they want to attack DeSantis. DeSantis actually developed a 216-page curriculum. And this was one of the sentences that she took. This is the full sentence. Instruction includes how slaves developed skills, which, in some instances, could be applied for their personal benefit. So no, they did not personally benefit from slavery, but what they did was they took the instances that they were faced with and they made the best out of the situation. That's exactly what he means by this. Not that slaves were good and that we should have slaves again. That doesn't make any sense. The language in the Florida curriculum is virtually identical to the language that the College Board includes in its current curriculum for AP African American Studies, which is available in thousands of schools across the United States. Dr. William Allen, former chairman of the United States Commission on Civil Rights in Florida and African American Standards Work Group member, blasted Harris, teachers unions, and everyone else promoting the allegations, saying that they were spreading, quote, lies. The claims from Harris were then echoed by a few African-American Republicans, including Rep. Brian Donalds, Republican from Florida, who has endorsed former President Donald Trump in his 2024 campaign. Senator Tim Scott, Republican from South Carolina, who is running for president. Rep. Wilsie Hunt, Republican from Texas, who also endorsed Trump, and and Rep. John James, Republican from Minnesota, likewise a Trump supporter. Donalds was the first to parrot Harris's talking points, writing on Twitter on Wednesday, quote, "The new African American study standards in Florida are good, robust, and accurate. That being said, the attempt to feature in the personal benefits of slavery is wrong and needs to be adjusted. That obviously wasn't the goal, quote, and I have faith that FLDOE will correct this." Manny Diaz Jr., Florida's Commissioner of Education, responded directly to Donalds, quote, "The federal government won't dictate Florida's education standards. The new curriculum is based on truth. We will not back down from teaching our nation's true history at the behest of a woke White House, nor at the behest of a supposedly conservative congressman." And I completely agree, because of the fact that you can't tell. The federal government cannot tell the state what they should and should not be teaching inside of its schools. It's just not possible. DeSantis also responded directly to Donalds, telling him Floridians should stand up for Florida. Don't slide with Kamala Harris and liberals who are during this. Scott was the next to take the apparent swipe at DeSantis over the issue, telling supporters on Thursday what slavery was really about was separating families and mutilating humans and even raping their wives. It was just devastating. So I would hope that every person in our country, and certainly running for president, would appreciate that. DeSantis also responded directly to Scott. Quote, "Part of our reason our country has struggled is because DC Republicans all too often accept false narratives, accept lies, and that are perpetrated by the left. And to accept that lie that Kamala Harris has been perpetrating even when that has been debunked. That's not the way to do it. The way you lead is to fight back against the lies, is to speak truth. So I'm here defending my state of Florida against false accusations and against lies. And we're going to continue to speak the truth." Congressman Hunt then took the attacks to a whole new level on Friday, tweeting, quote, "As the direct descendant of a slave, I have a hard time understanding Governor DeSantis' position that transferably skills learned in the bondage and somehow a net benefit. If Ron DeSantis spent more time doing the job of the people of Florida that elected him to do, and less time on his failing president campaign, perhaps Florida's curriculum on slavery would be more accurately reflected the pain and heartbreak experienced by millions who suffered through the original sin." Okay, first of all, the original sin happened 120 years ago. You didn't experience it, your parents didn't experience it, your grandparents didn't experience it. Your grandparents' parents experienced slavery. That's what time frame it was. So for you to sit here and say, "Oh, well, slavery is still..." No. Yes, there was really bad things that happened out of slavery, but yes, we can also say, listen, these people were tremendously strong and they went through the hardest point of American history easily one of the hardest points of American history, and they still took their perspective and they made it positive because they were going to make the situation a more positive situation instead of just looking at it in a negative light. Rep. James then appeared to take Hunt's remarks about the, quote, net benefit and put them in quotation marks in an apparent attempt to either attribute the words of DeSantis to the curriculum, even though DeSantis did not say those words and did not appear in the curriculum. Quote, number one, slave was not CTE. Nothing about the 400 years of evil was a net benefit to my ancestors, James wrote on Twitter. Number two, there are only 5 black Republicans in Congress and you're attacking 2 of them, my brother in Christ. If you find yourself in a deep hole, put the shovel down. And you are now so far from the party of Lincoln that your ed board is rewriting history and you're personally attacking conservatives like Tim Scott and Brian Donalds of the topic of slavery. You've gone too far. Stop. Okay, I love how Tim Scott says that DeSantis's campaign is failing. Tim Scott, no one's voting for you at all. You're like 5% right now. You're 5%. Tim Scott, you have I would say on the high end, you have about a 5% chance of winning the presidency. So you need to sit down, give up in the race right now because you have no chance of even winning. So you're going to sit here and attack DeSantis? Listen, DeSantis has tough skin. So he doesn't even care about what you say because you're so low in the polls. So you're going to sit here and say, oh, and this was a quote from him earlier that I read, but just now clicked. Listen, this is who your microphone stopped in the middle of you announcing your presidency. Your presidency so far, or your candidacy, has been an embarrassment so far. You're going to sit here and attack Ron DeSantis guy? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And Brian Donalds, nobody even knows you. Nobody knows your name. Okay, and you're not going to win re-election if you're going to be attacking one of the top people for the president of the United States. One of the top people attacking Trump is a suicide. A presidential or a political suicide. Attacking the top rival or attacking the number 2 guy is also a political suicide. You're not helping your case. You're misunderstanding and misconstruing what is in the curriculum that people have been learning this whole entire time. It's disgusting. Just because you have an R next to your name, a D next to your name, a C next to your name, or an I next to your name, it does not matter. You need to be based in facts. Quote, returning to the article, we have, the matter became such an issue on social media that Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts, who has a PhD in American history, issued a statement claiming that the lies in defending the governor. Quote, the outcry over Florida's African-American standard is absurd, Roberts said in a statement. That happens to be my academic field as a historian. I used to write extensively, including curriculum standards, on that topic. So I took some time to review Florida's. At the bottom line, they are excellent. Quote, in my experience as a historian of American history, African-American history, Florida's standards actually are the model for other states, Roberts added. They are comprehensive in topics covered. They do not shy away from difficult topics and, as history should, use examples of historic people who fought oppression. Roberts, who directly quoted from Florida's state standards, quote, institutional materials shall include the vital contributions of African Americans to build and strengthen American society and to celebrate the inspirational stories of African Americans who prospered even in the most difficult circumstances. This controversy over Florida's history standards has nothing to do with the history, which is accurately and beautifully captured, Roberts added. Rather, it's all about politics and trying to recap one of the conservatism leaders. God bless Ron DeSantis for his courage amid this ridiculous fire. I completely agree. Kevin Roberts is great. Like that, he completely went through the Florida legislative or the Florida educational department standards, and he says, no, this is actually a model that other states go after. So Tim Scott, you just embarrassed yourself. All the other people, you're embarrassing yourself by attacking Ron DeSantis for this specific reason. If you want to attack him for another reason, yes, that's fine. But using talking points from the left and Kamala Harris, when Kamala Harris agrees with you, that's when you know, listen, just give up now. Just give up now because you have nobody on your side. If Kamala Harris agrees with you and she's over here doing nothing in the White House? Absolutely nothing. Or just having speeches about how much she loves Venn diagrams and electric school buses, you have a problem. With that being said, we're going to dig into a dozen takes.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to the first article, we actually have a CNN article. We have why Republicans can't get out of their climate bind, even as extreme heat overwhelms the United States. Now, listen, yes, okay, we're having high heat in the United States. We're having heat advisories all throughout the United States, but is this a indication of the global climate rising, or is it just because of the fact that we're just having higher than normal weather? Because like we can always go back and see that a few years ago, we had colder than average temperatures, just like how, yes, maybe this year we didn't have as much snow in the New England part of the United States, but we can see also at the same exact time that the year prior or the 2 years prior, we had a blizzard over there. So it's like at the same exact time, you can say, oh, well, it's climate change. It's a climate change. No, listen. Just because you say a different word does not mean that what you're saying is true. Like, yes, the climate's changing. Of course, we have summer, winter, fall, and spring. So, of course, yes, we have seasons changing. We have weather changing. When the sun goes down, it goes down about 10 degrees at least. So, yes, of course, we're going to have climate changing. Now, moving with this article here, we have deadly heat waves are baking the United States. Scientists just reported that July will be the hottest month on record. And now, after years of skepticism and denial of the GOP ranks, a small number of Republicans are urging their party to be proactive on the climate crisis. Yes, and these Republicans are stupid. But the GOP is stuck in a climate bind, and likely will be for the next 4 years, in large part because they are still living in the shadow of former president and the 2024 Republican frontrunner Donald Trump. Of course, no, listen, that's not the reason. It's because of the fact that we have our own two eyes and we can sit here and look at a graph and say, wait a second, last year was this temperature, the year prior was this temperature, this year is this temperature. Okay, now let's look at the last 100 years. Wait a second, there's no correlation at all. Even as more Republican politicians are joining the consensus that climate change is real and caused by humans, Trump's inflammatory rhetoric has driven the party to the right on climate and extreme weather. Trump has called the extremely settled science of climate change a hoax. It is. It's not extremely settled. What are you talking about? CNN, you just said COVID is extremely settled. No, it's not settled at all. The science is not settled because we can have a hotter than normal temperature in the summer and in a lower than normal temperature in the summer. But of course, you're going to sit here and say, no, that means that you need to give billions of dollars to my friend over here. That doesn't make any sense. We can actually look at this article that I actually saved for us to look at together, and we can look for the last, let's just say, the average temperature in July. We can have the starting year being 1895 and then the end of year being 2023. The average temperature throughout Florida was 81 degrees. Now, we can see that July 2022, it was 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, we can see in July 2021, it was 81 degrees Fahrenheit. We can see in July of 2020, it was 83 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the year prior, 82, 82, 82, 84, 82, 81, 80, 82, 82, 83, 81, 81, 82, 82, 83, 81, 81, 81, 81, 82, 82, 83, 81, 88, 82, 82, 80, 82, 82, 81, 81, 81. Now we're back to 1989. Okay, this is the exact same temperature. Let's just jump forward a little bit or jump backwards. Okay, we're going to be 1906, 80, 81, the year prior, 1905, 1904, 79 degrees, 1903, 80 degrees, 1902, 81 degrees, 81 degrees, 80, 81, 81, 81, 80. Okay, so now, of course, the mean temperature throughout all of this is 80 degrees. There's no correlation. We had 83 degree temperatures in 1932. We have 83 degree temperatures in the year 2018 and 2022. So what is the correlation here? No, there is no correlation. It's just because of the fact that the climate is changing. That means that we have different temperatures in winter, spring, fall, and summer. It's just that simple. Moving into the next article, we actually have an MSNBC article. We have the truth is out there, but this UFO whistleblower likely doesn't have it. David Grosserich made a truly extraordinary claim, but it requires extraordinary evidence. On Wednesday, David Grosserich, a former military intelligence officer, told a House Oversight Subcommittee that all those stories you've read on the internet are true. The government has debris collected from crashed alien spacecraft. He also told the assembled lawmakers that federal retrieval teams have collected biological remains of alien bodies. Grosserich, who considers himself a whistleblower, claims he had interviewed dozens of people, several of whom claim to have been injured by UFOs, now officially known as unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs. He also claimed that the Pentagon has been working for years to collect and study crashed UAPs. That is a truly extraordinary claim, begging for extraordinary evidence. But where is the evidence? It's MIA. Neither Gorsuch nor anyone else claiming to have knowledge of secret government UAP programs has ever been able to publicly produce convincing photos showing alien hardware splayed across the landscape. And remember, we're not talking about the Cessna that plowed into a wheat field. We're talking about presumably an alien interstellar rocket capable of bridging trillions of miles of space in sporting technology that is obviously alien. The believers maintain that such photos exist but are being kept under wraps for reasons that are very unclear. The critical evidence that would convince anyone of alien presence in our hood is in our hood. What are you talking? MSNBC, are you trying to be cool again? Come on, you're not cool. Like in our quote hood. I can't. Why would you say that? That's just so cringy. MSNBC, what are you doing? And it can't be made public. Note that this week's star witness, Grosserich, made his claim too. This is an argument I have long viewed with skepticism. Society should not, and generally does not, accept scientific discoveries without any evidence. The cure for cancer cannot be classified. If there was really some physical evidence of a visitation, thousands of scientists would be fighting one another to study it, and the government would want it studied. This has always been another big sticking point in the UAP conspiracy theory universe. What is the point of hiding extraterrestrial technology in a Nevada hangar? What would be the goal of that? At the point of shouting out the scientific community, the information technology, and importantly, wealth intensifies here seem overwhelming. So yeah, I mean, I can see where MSNBC is actually coming from, and you can actually see here that according to the CNN audience, actually 37% say that it is very likely that that the Pentagon is hiding evidence that would prove aliens exist, and 52% think that they don't think so. No, they don't think so. Returning to the issue of visible evidence, there are thousands of satellites orbiting Earth. The majority sport cameras aimed downward. Actual alien aircraft in our airspace bigger than an office desk would be likely to be visible to the satellites that, among other things, supply imagery to Google Earth. Hypothetically, a vast conspiracy to scrub such images could exist, and the American populace rapidly accepts conspiracy explanations. Ever since the government's disingenuous response to the 1947 discovery of crashed debris near Russell, New Mexico, the public has decided that the feds will never tell citizens the truth about visiting aliens, not even dead ones, such as the crew of the spacecraft that reportedly pancaked into the desert that year. Now, of course, why would the government tell us this? What is the incentive for them to tell us this? Because obviously, according to them, looking at the government perception of us, the people, we're just here to pay their bills. We're just here to pay taxes. That's about it. Okay. If you want to say anything else, don't. They don't care. So what would their motive be to tell us about aliens existing? There would be no motive behind it. So thus, they're not going to do it. Moving to the next article, we actually have a Daily Wire article. We have GOP congressman defends unloading on Senate pages lying on Capitol Rotunda floor and slams Schumer. Rep. Derek Van Orden, Republican from Wisconsin, reportedly slammed a group of high school-age Senate pages during a late-night tour this week at the United States Capitol in response to condemnation from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat from New York. Van Orden defended his comments and slammed the Democrat, saying that he would think twice before throwing stones in glass houses. The former United States Navy SEAL was giving a tour to a large group of visitors during the early morning hours on Thursday when he stumbled upon the pages laying on the ground of the Capitol Rotunda, taking photos of the building's dome. Quote, "Wake the F up, you little S word," Van Orden said, according to a transcript created by one of the pages shortly after the incident occurred. "What the F are you doing? Get the F out of here. You are defilling the space, you piece of S." "Who the F are you?" Van Orden reportedly asked, and one individual said that they were Senate pages. "I don't give a F who you are. Get out, you jack ASSES. Get out." Van Orden's remarks angered Schumer and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who both condemned Van Orden. Quote, "I was shocked when I heard about it, and I am further shocked at his refusal to apologize to those young people," Schumer said. "I can't speak for the House of Representatives, but I don't think that one member's disrespect is shared by the body by Leader McConnell and myself." Van Orden's spokesperson responded to combination, telling Fox News Chuck Schumer should think twice before throwing stones in glass houses. Chuck Schumer is a lifelong political hack who never resists an opportunity to insert himself in front of the camera. When will Schumer hold his own party to the same standard? National Republican Congressional Committee spokesperson Jack Pandol also told Fox News. Van Orden refused to apologize over the incident and instead doubled down in the subsequent media interviews, where he explained why the page's actions infuriated him. Quote, the Capitol Rotunda served as a field hospital where countless Union soldiers died fighting for free men in the Civil War, Van Orden said in the statement. I have long said our nation's capital is a symbol of our sacrifice that our servicemen and our women have made for the country, and should never be treated like a frat house common room. Threatening a congressman with bad press or to excuse poor behavior is a reminder of everything that is wrong in Washington. Luckily, bad press has never bothered me, and it's the price I'll pay for standing up for what's right. Then so be it. So, I mean, I'm just confused on why he wants to treat people like this. Yes, you shouldn't fall asleep in the Capitol Rotunda, but also there's a nicer way of saying it. I guess that's why. Van Orden infuriated the political left back in 2021, where he allegedly went into a library and complained loudly about a display of fiction and nonfiction books about homosexuality in this children's section during Pride Month, according to the Associated Press. He reportedly said in a complaint to the library that the books were propaganda designed to scare young people to think Republicans are not inclusive. The report said that he ended up checking out every book from the display so that there were no books left for people to see. So, I mean, I kind of agree with that last part there, because that's actually kind of funny. Anytime anybody does something against the left, it's just funny to me. But I think that he did take it a little bit too far on this one. But of course, I don't think that I have the full story on this. I would like to see the full story. So before I give my full opinion on it, I would like to see the full story on it. Moving on to the next article, we actually have another Daily Wire article. We have Trump vows to run for president from prison if he's convicted. I mean, we already knew this. Former President Donald Trump vowed on Friday that he would run for president from inside of a prison cell if he's convicted in the criminal cases that he faces. Trump made his remarks during an appearance on a pro-Trump radio show that with John Fredericks when he was asked if a conviction would stop his third presidential term. Not at all. There's nothing in the Constitution to say that I could not. Trump said, even the radical left crazies are saying no, that wouldn't stop. And it wouldn't stop me either. Trump later posted on social media that special counsel Jack Smith, who is prosecuting the two federal criminal investigations into Trump should be jailed. Quote, they ought to throw deranged Jack Smith and his thug prosecutors in jail with meritless Garland and Trump-hating Lisa Monaco. Trump wrote, quote, they have totally weaponized the Department of Justice. Whatever happened to the crooked Joe Biden box's case? Why was Hillary Clinton allowed to delete 33,000 emails, many of them classified, after getting a subpoena from Congress? Why was Bill Clinton allowed to take tapes out of the White House and his stocks? And why has no other president ever been charged election fraud? The comments from the former president came after he was charged on Thursday with 3 additional counts in the federal criminal probe into his handling of classified information after he left the White House. Trump was charged with 1 additional count of willfully retention of national defense information and 2 additional obstruction counts stemming from alleged attempts to delete surveillance footage at Mar-a-Lago after investigators had delivered a subpoena to Trump seeking the materials that he had in his possession. One of the key revelations in the new superseding indictment is that prosecutors now have in their possession the document that Trump allegedly showed to a writer and publisher during a recorded interview in July 2021 at his golf club in Bedminster. After he was first indicted in the case, Trump claimed in media interviews that he was not holding up any documents and that it was a case of him displaying too much bravado. I would say that it is bravado. If you want to know the truth, it was bravado, Trump said. I was talking and just holding up papers and talking about them, but I had no documents. I didn't have any documents. However, the new superseding indictment makes clear that the prosecutors are now in possession of the document. So, I mean, Trump, you lying to us is not going to help your case. We already know based off of the clip, you were just caught red-handed. You were just like, this is top secret. I could have declassified this, but I didn't declassify this. So why are you saying that in the clip if it's not classified, if it's not classified? Moving on to the next article, we actually have a Breitbart article. We have Chris Christie. Trump will be out on bail during campaign. Can't beat Biden. Former Governor Chris Christie, a candidate for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination on Sunday on CNN's State of the Union, that former President Donald Trump would be out on bond during the presidential campaign. Therefore, according to Christie, Trump can't beat President Joe Biden. Christie said, quote, you can't say that there is no underlying potential crime here. This was the withholding unclassified confidential information from the government after 18 months of asking Donald Trump to return it voluntarily. Not only did he not return it, he lied about having it. And this is not the kind of thing that we can't do. I don't think you think about the potential effect you have on our troops and our intelligence officers by having this stuff just laying around and him willy-nilly showing it to whoever he feels like to be a show-off on the back deck at Mar-a-Lago. This is not what a former president should be doing. He continued, quote, I want voters to listen to this. It is the most likely that by the time we get on the debate stage in August 23, the front runner will be out on bond in 4 different justifications: Florida, Washington, and Georgia, and New York. Out on bail, I mean. That doesn't even clear the low-class bar that Donald Trump is advocating for. Look, I'm running for president because I want to do big things. He added, Joe Biden will be the president again if Donald Trump is the nominee. So, I mean, Joe Biden's approval rating is actually lower than Trump's, so I don't know where he's actually coming from in this aspect. I mean, nobody's lower than Chris Christie, except for maybe Scott Adams. Even though Scott Adams actually wants to attack Ron DeSantis so that he's going to drop even more. So let's see what happens from this. Moving on to the next article, we actually have a Federalist article. We have special counsel who ignored Biden bribery slaps Trump with his maintenance guy with more charges. Special counsel Jack Smith, who turned a blind eye to Biden family corruption as head of the Department of Justice, public integrity section during the Obama administration, slapped 3 additional charges on former President Donald Trump on Thursday for his alleged mishandling of classified documents. The document has also added that a Mar-a-Lago maintenance worker, to the original indictment. Quote, "This is nothing more than a continued desperate and failing attempt by the Biden crime family and the Department of Justice to harass President Trump and those around him." The campaign wrote in a statement, "Deranged Jack Smith knows that they will have no case, and it is casting about for any way to salvage their illegal witch hunt and to get someone other than Donald Trump to run against crooked Joe Biden." In addition to the 37 federal counts Trump is already facing, the DOJ announced it is charging Trump with one count of willfully retention of national defense information based on the July 2021 Bedminster audio tape, which was already included in the original indictment. The department is also charging Trump with 2 new counts of obstruction for allegedly attempting to delete security footage at his home in Palm Beach, Florida last summer, around the same time as of the infamous Mar-a-Lago raid, where, according to Trump's family, federal agents aggressively searched Melania Trump's wardrobe and Barron Trump's underwear drawer. Newly added into the indictment is Carlos de Oliveira, Trump's property manager. The DOJ alleges de Oliveira aided the president in deleting the aforementioned surveillance footage and gave false statements to the FBI during a voluntary interview on July 13th this year. Former Vice Presidents Joe Biden and Mike Pence have also kept classified documents despite neither men having had the power to declassify documents. Yet they have not faced any charges. Additionally, while Trump's classified documents were kept in private at Mar-a-Lago's home, protected by Secret Service, Biden's classified documents have reportedly been found in his garage in Delaware and at Penn Biden Center, a busy D.C. office building that spans some 10 stories and includes numerous public areas, writes the Federalist Margaret Cleveland. The same day the Justice Department added more charges to the Trump indictment, it dropped the campaign finance charge against Democrat mega donor, only outspent by George Soros, Sam Bankman-Fried. Bankman-Fried, the CEO of the former multi-billion-dollar Ponzi scheme FTX, defrauded millions of people, many of whom were small-time, everyday investors. On Wednesday, Hunter Biden's sweetheart plea deal unraveled, apparently in part because of his lawyers realized the judge wouldn't agree to deal that would protect Hunter from future prosecution related to corrupt foreign business deals in Ukraine and China that involved trading on his family name, explains the Federalist John Daniel Davidson. Quote, "It is no coincidence that the day after a federal judge throws out Hunter Biden's corrupt sweetheart plea bargain, Biden's weaponized DOJ continues its witch hunt against President Trump." Chairwoman of the House Republican Conference, Elsie Sanford, said in a statement, "Our republic is puerile, our justice system is broken," and I completely agree. So why are they dropping some cases against some people and allowing other cases to go through and expanding the charges against other people? It's just not right. So with this being said, we're going to end off the video here. If you did like this episode, please like and subscribe down below, because I do post new episodes of the show every week, 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you all for watching, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. The Demetrius Arujo Show is actually copyright 2023 Arujo Studios. Thank you all for watching, and I hope they have a great rest of your day.